Welcome to a brief review on multiplying and dividing fractions. When we multiply fractions, we do not need to find a common denominator. That's only for adding and subtracting. We simply multiply the numerators and the denominators. So with this example, we would end up with 28 for the numerator and 36 for the denominator. Now we need to reduce this fraction. At first glance, we realize that they're both even. So if we divide the top and the bottom by 2, we get 14/18. However, that is not fully reduced. We can do that again, divide the numerator and the denominator by 2 to get 7/9. What this tells me is that with our original unreduced fraction, I could have divided the numerator and the denominator by 4 to go directly to this final reduced form. But sometimes it's difficult to see that greatest common factor. So let's talk about a way that we can reduce our fractions before we multiply to make this a lot more simple. If we look at 3 and 7, those are diagonal from each other. There is no common factor here, so there's no reducing we can do. But if we look here, 4 and 12 have a common factor of 4, so we're going to do something called cross-canceling. If we divide 4 by 4, we get 1, and if we divide 12 by 4, we get 3. So by cross-canceling, we can realize that this is the same thing as 1/3 times 7/3. Which when we multiply straight across, we get 7/9, which is our final answer. Well, why can we do this? If we were to multiply straight across 4 times 7 for the numerator and 3 times 12 for the denominators, we can switch the order here. That's the same thing as 4 times 7 over 12 times 3. And we realize that 4/12 here reduces to 1/3, which is 1/3 times 7/3. So instead of doing all of that work to rewrite it every time, that's why we use cross-canceling. So let's look at another example. Here we're multiplying. If we look at these two diagonals, 7 and 21, 7 divides into both of them evenly. So we cross-cancel. 7 divided by 7 is 1, 21 divided by 7 is 3. These two numbers, 15 and 20, have a common factor of 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. So now that we've cross-canceled and simplified, we can multiply across. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. This is our final answer. And that's a lot easier than multiplying before we simplify. Now let's look at dividing fractions. We only have one example here because in order to divide by a fraction, we end up multiplying by the reciprocal of the second number. And reciprocal is a mathematic term that says we take the numerator and the denominator and we switch them. So that means this is the same thing as 4/3 times 6/7, the reciprocal. Well, now that we're multiplying, let's see if we can cross-cancel. 4 and 7 has nothing in common, but 3 and 6 have 3 in common. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. We multiply across and we get 8/7. And that cannot reduce. It's improper fraction, but that's okay. We leave it like that, and that's our final answer.